Okay, today is the 21 day out of March 2022, and it's officially here, the 21 days out of 21. The fasting has come to the finish line that I was able to run a mile and a half at the 13-minute mark. Once again, the mile and a half is estimated. I'm not sure if I'm short of a mile and a half or I'm a little above a mile and a half. I know I did a measurement before and I was like, wow, I felt pretty proud of myself uh, about the whole situation of just going the distance. That's why I recommend for you guys anything from a mile to 2 miles. If you do more, it's fine. If you do less, just try to push it up to a mile, mile and a half. But I think a mile and a half, and if you could be able to walk and jog in that, there may be a potential of you getting some kind of results. All right. So back to today's experience. 13 minutes. You know what I mean? Hit that play. I run and listen to YouTube, and it was just a I only had like a little break towards the end. Everything else I was just running. So now today's Monday. What we're gonna do is the number 30. I thought about it. I really did. I thought about doing 50. I thought about doing 40. Well, I think 30, because the goal here is just to really finish with the form, get the pain, no gain, and just get through the exercise. So sometimes the higher number sounds really good, like yes, I gone through 50, or somebody may push it up to 60 and gone through it, but it's to make sure to finish every rep. All right. I want to make sure that I'm setting a pace that I am completing reps and not triggering my mind to say, you know what, I fell short. I don't think throughout this whole process, I wanted to stop and quit. Not say quit, but just more like, hey, if I did 20 reps out of 30 and I had 10 more to go, sometimes I do feel like stopping and just like, yo, this is the furthest I could go. But the more the body can understand that you are getting through something, I think it has a little bit more potential for you to get through other things, whatever that is. So we're here on a 21 out of 21 days, the end of the fasting, where I'm gonna take when the month of March. So I'm gonna take a 10-day break, probably do some journaling, probably some note taking for April's workout, but at least I could be able to relax through this time. It's up to you if you want to continue exercising. I know for me, I'm gonna go back hard again for another 21 days in April. So I already took 5 months off prior to this, so 10 days just taking a break should not be able to trigger any kind of surprise habit to not further along. This is what I love to do. All right, so hopefully you have that passion also. So let's get started with the 30, and I will be at the end, I will be mentioning what I may be implementing on the exercise for April. All right, so let's knock this out. We hate Mondays, but let's get this exercise in, okay? Check out Joseph Rodrigues on YouTube.
Today's conversation is on the concept of flow. Now, you've heard me mention flow many times, and I thought that today we would go into a deeper discussion, deeper than we've ever gone before, on the concept of flow. Flow being the effect of a certain state of mind, flow state of mind, and flow being felt by how you engage. I call this five sensory integration with what we're doing on the day-to-day journey, what we are experiencing, the different circumstances, in a way that we experience deep connection, presence, one with. Before we get into discussion, I want to reflect back on an experience that brought me to this level of understanding. Back in 2017, I went for about 3 weeks to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. While I was there, I had an insight, inner voice conversation. And I reflected and realized that there was major contributing factors for success in my life. And there was periods of times where I was experiencing, you could say, quantum leaps or rapid progress. Now, we discussed quantum leaps in one of the last videos. I'll put a link in the description to that. I recommend you watch it. And I recognized that if I could bring myself into a certain state of mind, I would have more of these breakthroughs, innovative thinking, accelerators, or quantum leaps. And I said, what was the difference when I look back on my journey of what facilitated those and the times that did not? And right away I was reminded that it was flow. Flow is essentially where challenge meets skill. It's where we are deeply engaged in what we are doing, and we're noticing that we are one with what we are doing, otherwise known as autotelic, one with. And we're experiencing something where we really understand, interpret, a lot of times intuitively, the integration of our mind, inner world, and the outer world, the five sensory experience. Now, on the entrepreneurial journey, this is very valuable because what are we working with when it comes to the outer world? We're working with relationships, we're working with resources, we're working with assets, we're working with opportunities, and with our mind, we come up with creative ways of connecting them together to produce innovation, to produce value, to produce results. Now, this is what we're doing on the day-to-day journey. And what I found is that it was facilitated to a higher degree while I was in flow. So from that day onwards, I made a commitment that I was going to maintain flow, make flow a priority on my day-to-day journey, and see what happens. Now, as a result, this was back in 2017, what I found was that I was able to maintain flow, find the different ways to get into flow, and that's what we want to stimulate in this conversation for you, as well as I was able to recognize and cross-reference how flow translated into results based on being in what I would call ideal state of mind or flow-based state of mind. Now, this is something that you really have to experience. So reflect back on your life. As we go through this video, recognize that your best performance, the quantum leaps, the breakthroughs, the insights, the perspectives, the connection with intuition was found when you were in flow. So there's different levels of flow. And I recommend having a certain baseline of flow. How do you know you have a baseline of flow that is in harmony with your vision? Well, you feel lighthearted and you feel connected with your mission and purpose each day, and you'll find a deeper connection as the days go by. Number two, creativity, intuition, and understanding of the day-to-day journey is accelerated. You find more joy when you wake up each day. You find more joy when you are doing what you do. And you find that you're making not just incremental progress, but having more of these quantum leaps as a result of this state of mind. What you'll also find is that there's higher peak levels of flow. And you may find yourself in these higher flow states of mind when you're deeply engaged in certain key activities. For example, for me, it's public speaking. It's when I'm doing consulting. It's when I'm creating these videos. And it's when I'm doing other activities that might not be related directly to my goals, my visions, my aspirations, such as snowboarding, going to the gym, going for a walk, and doing different things that bring me into this state of mind, maintain this state of mind, dwell in and from this state of mind. So I recommend making a study of yourself and identifying each day what are the things that bring you into flow, what are the things that allow you to maintain your flow, and what are the things that break your flow, knowing that you can change either how you relate to those things within, or you could change those things, and you'll find yourself in deeper levels of flow. Again, what are the reasons, the effects? Well, accelerated results, deep engagement, as well as quantum leaps. Happiness and deep engagement in the present activities is based on our interpretation. As a result of our mind and how we believe reality to work, we interpret what happens on the day-to-day journey. And the different activities that we do each day, what we engage in, what we participate in, where we show up in the environments, and how we relate to these elements is based on our interpretation. So we have the power to, as we've been talking about this, change how we relate to these elements. And what I found is that our relationship to these elements, the relationship we have with them, is facilitated automatically, intuitively, from a degree of connection one with when we're in flow state. So flow state, also known as being in the zone, is a mental state in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in the feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. The journey and the destination is felt and seen and experienced as one. It is complete absorption in what one does, resulting transformation in one's sense of time. Now, the power behind this is deep engagement, or as Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now, being in the now. Flow is a state of mind in which we are deeply involved with activity or life experiences to the point where fears, doubts, and indecision are excluded out of consciousness. So this is something that we all want to experience on the journey, is whatever it is we're doing, whatever desire that we have that we want to see brought forth, we know what we need to do to produce the results. This is found within via inspiration, intuition. And this inspiration is something that is deeply connected to what I refer to as the true self, who we are truly meant to be. So much of this journey is about revealing the true self, and I've been discussing this over the many videos. However, we know when we have a connection to this true self, when we find ourselves releasing, a lot of times automatically, and facilitated by flow, a lot of times the fears, doubts, and indecision-based thinking that we have accumulated from past experiences in our life that have no correlation to what we are doing, our goal, our desire, our aspiration. And it's one thing for me to say to you, exclude it out of consciousness. Now, I'm a big fan of working with affirmations, so you can work with affirmations to exclude these elements out of consciousness. What you could also do is work with the concept of flow, and we're going to go through the process to automatically exclude fears, doubts, and indecision out of consciousness. Now, notice that this is not new to you. All of us have experienced this a lot of times in earlier stages of our life, when we were children, when we would be deeply engaged in what we were doing, be it an activity, a sport, something that may had an element of fear, and doubt and indecision that could have been a potentiality. But for whatever the reason may be, it was excluded out of our consciousness. That's because in that moment, we were experiencing flow. So flow is a state of mind that allows us to dissolve the resistance that we have within regarding fears, doubts, and indecision in relation to ourselves, in relation to our journey, in relation to what we're doing, in relation to the destination. And we do this by committing to stepping in flow and being in flow. Now, as mentioned, as I went through that journey after 2017 and committing to be in flow, I found my results in business, in personal life, in all the personal development areas accelerate, because at the end of the day, this is what you're going to be doing most of the day, is engaging in this world. So you might as well engage with it to the best of your ability from the perspective of flow. If you have an entrepreneurial endeavor, then probably 8 to 10 to 12, maybe even more hours a day, you're engaging in your business, directly or indirectly. You might as well consider doing it from a place of flow. Again, why do we do that? So that the mind is kept in an optimal state so that we can look at the outer world, people, environment, circumstances, the relationships, the resources, the assets, from a perspective that is designed to facilitate the outcome. In other words, we're able to transform what may appear as obstacles into opportunities. We're able to recognize the patterns, pattern recognition of how to connect these elements together to produce results, innovation, success. Achieving happiness and connection with our five senses via our inner world. So we're interpreting, while we're on the journey, while we're on flow, the five senses integration with the outer world, people, environment, circumstance, and information, from the perspective of the vision, or as Neville Goddard puts it, living in the end, and seeing all in harmony and in contribution. You've probably heard me say this many times. Everything we experience is represented in the mind as information anyways. So you might as well represent what you are experiencing with the five senses from a perspective of in contribution and in harmony, automatically facilitated by flow. If we're able to control this information, we can decide what our lives will be like. So I always say this, it's not necessarily the circumstance, but the interpretation of the circumstance. And what's the interpreting factor? Or more accurately put, who is the interpreting factor? It is you. And so we have the power to interpret. And what we'll find is when we're in flow, we will accurately interpret. Now, who experiences flow? Computer programmers experience flow. Public speakers experience flow. Athletes experience flow. And you can replace flow with zone or any other word you choose to correlate and cross-reference that same experience, what we find where we're one with what we're doing, not overthinking. Now, I recently took up snowboarding, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. And probably in the next year or so, I'll probably take up surfing. I've always been into board sports since I was a kid, and I decided to get back into it. And I found myself re-experiencing all the things on different learning stages of my journey, no matter what skill I was acquiring, be it any entrepreneurial skill or whatever kind of skill, from the perspective of the information that we've been discussing on this channel, and recognizing that as a result of being in flow, I would find myself learning faster. And as a result, I would find myself going on the hills, practicing, and when I'd go home, I'd watch a couple videos, and rather than being overwhelmed by large volumes of information to the point where I get stuck in my head, I put more emphasis on practice and being in flow in the activity, knowing that intuitively and in combination with what I was learning, that information would assimilate in that moment and I would be able to accelerate my progress. And that is exactly what happened. When we're able to organize our mind to experience flow as often as possible, the quality of our life improves. Now, this is not just to be said about the direct activities that you're applying flow to or that you're finding flow in, but all areas of your life, such as my example that I just gave. Now, in the book Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, he says, enjoyment is characterized by this forward movement, by a sense of novelty, of accomplishment. Playing a close game of tennis that stretches one's ability is enjoyable, as is reading a book that reveals things in a new light, as is having a conversation that leads to express ideas we didn't know we had. All of these are flow-based activities. It's a combination, a sweet spot, where challenge meets skill. It's where the skill is not perceivably too overwhelming. The key is perception, and that is in the mind. So that stated, those that find themselves in flow will find themselves better equipped and able in the mind to overcome complexity that could show up on the journey to creating success, all facilitated by the state of mind. He says closing a contested business deal or any piece of work well done is enjoyable. None of these experiences may be particularly pleasurable at the time they are taking place, but afterwards we think back on them and say, that was really fun, and wish they would happen again. In other words, we're so deeply engaged in the moment, we're so one with, that a lot of times when we reflect back on the journey of cultivating that skill or producing that success, we recognize that there was no other place we wanted to be rather than what we were doing at that time. That's how you could say, when you connect the dots looking backwards, you knew you were in flow. After an enjoyable event, he says, we know that we have changed, that our self has grown. In some respect, we have become more complex as a result of it.
Oh, man. Well, there you go, folks. 21 days fasted. 2 days out the fasting was cold wind or cool winds and rain. So that definitely didn't work out for me. I didn't want to work out while it's raining and everything else. I've done it before, but not this go around. So it leaves me with 19 days of exercising divided by 21 days. 90% of the focus of the fasting, discipline, 90% of discipline, 90% of focus, great form. You know, I had a couple days I really didn't want to exercise at all. But those are the mental notes that I like to take note of myself, because not all the time you're going to be in the mood to do something, but to be able to push through that mood, don't allow that emotion to like just hold you down. It's a great feeling, you know. A word of like a depression comes to mind. A good friend of mine's, me and him went to the same school, and he said, don't look at it as depression, look at it as adversity. And you know, from my understanding, from adversity is like pushing through when challenges come up. Let me see if I could be able to read that definition of adversity. So with these next 10 days, it's going to feel like a mini vacation for me, because at least I could focus on some other things, editing, thinking for April exercises. Hold on one sec. I'm doing some extra activities. So that gives me a chance to double down on those activities, on what needs to get done. So adversity, difficulties, misfortune. All right. So what I'm trying to bring up is that during this time of pushing through exercise and everything else, I do feel more energized to do things, more optimistic to do things. The desire is there, so that's good. So if I had to summarize this whole 21-day fasting, it would just be like, it can be done. It can be done. All right, because that was a definitely challenge. So let me add in here some of the things. I know you guys may be familiar with this. This is an ab roller. I've been exercising on the concrete floor. I'm used to it, but I will be investing in a mat so I can lay on the mat and just be able to do the ab roll. So look out for this on the next 21-day challenge. And my good friend, her brother, manufactured this, the Riprite. And with this, it looks very simple, but it could definitely produce some results. I want to show an example right now of this, but I want to wait until the next go around of exercises. When I purchased this, all here, my forearm and my shoulders just increase muscle mass, and my muscles were very tight after the fact, and that was just the basics. So I'm gonna be learning. I would like to learn and study a little bit more what type of movements to do. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I'm excited. Thank you for being patient to hear my journey, my story. If it is helping you, be sure to leave a comment. If I do share my email, just be able to send me an email, why not? And with that being said, I look forward to continuing this journey, and we just take it from there without overthinking. I'm not trying to overthink. I'm not trying to make empty promises. Also, all right. It's like, hey, April 1st, let's go. April 2nd, 3rd, let's go. Let's go. All right. Same thing for May. Excuse me. Same thing for May, June. See, I'm overthinking. Let's vote. Let me enjoy this break, this 10-day break. So with that being said, you guys take care, and thank you for watching.